Well, guys, the wait is finally over. After almost 2 months of work, I finally made all 22 2022 MTWS regular season tracks, and it's now time to finally debut them all and show what they are, the racing style is going to be, the obstacles, everything, and how racing will be done too on each track as well. So, the wait is long over, so let's get to it. And here is the very first track taking place in Ford Field in Detroit on August 24th, as this is the very first ever paperclip style in MTWS racing, which is going to be cool. And I designed this track to make paperclip much easier, because in my experience driving paperclip style RR, I've had terrible luck with it going into the first turn, but this one has been made so much easier. And by the way, all those beautiful safety hazards out there. And yes, there is one obstacle out there, a tanker inside the hybrid right there. What does it do? Well, you'll have to wait and see when the event happens, as it has Big Brain written on the tanker. So now to show off how racing is, as here is me driving the MTWS truck on, as you see. It's over and under, going up the hills, and then going down that straightaway, and it becomes like Chicago style, just drifting along into 2 turns over the hills right here. As you see here, I got the MTWS logo out there along with the Lions logo. As MTWS always have to have an NFL reference in the city when we go to who has an NFL team over the hill, and there you go. That is racing on the very first track in Detroit. After that, right after Detroit, we're heading out to Salinas for this beautiful track, as this took a lot of work to do along with Detroit, as this is J-Hook style. We haven't done J-Hook style in a long time in MTWS. Now, of course, I'm sure a lot of you, some of you who are idiots over in Sim Monster, I remember seeing this a lot, saying, like Vegas style racing. No, Vegas style racing is not J-Hook. This was a very common track Monster Jam did back in 2001, 2002. So, since no one seems to remember, I'm going to remind you how J-Hook style actually is done. So, as you see right here, they start off on the straightaway right here, on the wide end, then they take a turn right here, which is a tough turn, as you can see, close to the barriers, line up right for the hill, and that's it! As nice air off of it, and that is actual J-Hook style racing, not Vegas style racing as idiots on Sim Monster such actually thought it was. They are incorrect. That's actual J-Hook style. And then afterwards, it's down to Atlanta on August 28th, as here is the next track, as it's good old St. Louis style, with a huge ass bus stack as part of the racing setup. As, oh boy, this track is pretty tough to race on, believe it or not. As you can see firsthand in MTWS, as you go over the bus stack, then you go into the turn, which trucks unfortunately do a lot of nosediving, and then you go line up right for these hills like good old St. Louis style back in the early 2000s. You gotta go slow over them though. Unfortunately, I had a bad bounce right there. You see it nosedive quite a lot. Take the turn, line up right back for the bus stack, and there you go. Race is over, as I got close to the van stack right there and tried to push that stoppie too far and hit the jackrabbit. After that, it is off to Edmonton, as we're doing over and under style, World Finals 21 style. See, told you I would be able to make that track and make it better, especially because it's not World Finals related. As, yep, a big speedway track, as I went all out to make this track. I put obstacles all over the place, even up the speedway area, since people were suggested when I was making the track. So how does this over and under work for the first time ever in MTWS this way, since we did over and under back in Melbourne 2015, like the normal Monster Truck Throwdown style? It's just like World Finals 21. You see, start off in line right there with both trucks back to back. Go over this little hill right here, and this actually, from what I heard from people testing it, was way better than the World Finals 21 track. Much easier to drive on, going over the hill, and slow it down to line up right for the hill right here, and then line up in the middle right here, which was actually quite difficult time to line up for when I was practicing for this video, and then go over the hill right here, as I went way too wide, unfortunately, seeing the video, and then you're done. So much easier than the World Finals 21 style used, and much better. So eat shit, people that said otherwise. And then after that, it's East Rutherford, as it's Jersey style racing, which has never been done before in MTWS. So it's nice to see this too, along with some beautifully colored obstacles out there, including using my skill jammer I've used in Lexington Custom 2021, if any of you remember that. And as for the test, you see right here, start off Jersey style right there. Gotta go over a little hill, which makes racing a little bit tough. and then line up right for the roll right here, and then go for the racing lane with the Jets and Giants logos on it, as then it becomes pretty much St. Louis style, as try and line up right here, right for the rollers, as you go over, and I think I also screw up a little bit right there, as there's a nosedive, went a little wide, line up right for the hill right there, try and line up for the Jets hill, and there you go. Jersey Style Racing, first time done in MTWS. Cannot wait for that on September 11th. And then after that, on September 18th, we are down in Arlington for our next event, as it's going to be Chicago Style Racing, which unfortunately we've done like the last 3 times we've been here, but needed to get this one out of the way because I wanted to use it later on. And oh boy, bringing back some good old classics, including my bus, fan sim, my backflip semi-trailer combo stack I made back on MTM2 days. And look at that. A hybrid with cars on it. Safety hazards time. And here's, of course, how racing's done as a Chicago style. This one's going to be a little bit tough because there's not much room, as I got caught a little bit by the turn cars right there, because the walls are really close. So the drivers, when the event happens, are going to have a tough time going past these hills. You see I just crawled across right here and line up right for the final jump, as there we go. Chicago style racing in Arlington as we head off to the final event in September, as it's down to Orlando on September 25th, and it is going to be Vegas Style Racing to once again trigger and maul the idiots that said Vegas Style Racing couldn't be done in Orlando for World Finals 21. And remember when I proved them wrong in my custom Orlando 2022 track? Well, I proved them wrong here once again with this awesome track. And look at that, a hybrid with a backflip wall. Ooh, how about that? And the triple from the All-Star Challenge. Since it was impossible to clear from the one side, I put cars in the one end and a fountain on the other. Oh boy, can you imagine the beautiful hits on that one. And of course, I brought back the good old center jump I used in custom Las Vegas 2022. What a fun track this was. So of course, Vegas Style Racing, just as such, you see it right here. And then take the turn. So simple, so elegant, and there we go. But Vegas Style Racing's impossible to do in Orlando. And once again, for a second time, proved idiots wrong again. So all of you that said otherwise, you need to eat a whole bunch of crow and admit you're wrong, because you are debunked. So now we're off to the October events, as we start off with El Paso on October 2nd, as this is Figure 8 Style. The first time I think we're doing, well no, it's not the first time we've done Figure 8 Style in MTWS. We did in Louisville 2016, but that was a Speedway version where you do like an actual Figure 8. This is the one that Moss Jam did back in 2020 or so, as I took the base El Paso track, whatever this was, and of course made it better by adding cars and stuff all over the place. And boy, did I go out a lot on this track. Whole bunch of stuff out there. So of course this track had to require a lot of work to fix the grip on, because it was so difficult, tacky around here. And you see I had a little bit of a struggle too. I caught the jam, hybrid. I was a little bit too close both times, you see right there. But yep, Figure 8. Go down here, make the turn around the jammer, just avoid that little hill, and there we go. El Paso racing done. And much easier than that shitty Tampa 2020 track. Then after that, it's down to Jacksonville. MTWS returned for the first time since 2014, as I don't know what I'm going to call this yet, but it's a reverse opposite direction of St. Louis style, where one truck starts on one end and the other one starts on the other. So it's opposite directions over the finish line. And would you look at that? The hill that Germ gave me a few months ago to make a little bit more smoother hills, I made it better by adding a van stack on it. So now here's how racing's going to be. So as Jacksonville on one side, like I said, they start right there. The other lane, the blue lane, they start the opposite end. And it's just St. Louis style. Just go down here. As the other truck goes in the opposite direction. And then you line up for the hill right here. And that's it. As both cross over right there. As I got caught a little bit by the hill right there. As I did a massive front flip at the end right there. Can't help when you get caught right there. But yep, inverse, well, not inverse, but that's this variation of St. Louis style we're going to be doing in Jacksonville. And after that, we're heading out to Tacoma for the first time ever on October 16th as a little bit smaller arena. So I decided to make it not only much better, but do a little bit of variation of J-Hook style. So remember I showed off J-Hook style being done in Salina? Well, 2 months later, here's a variation where it's much slower though. But hey, makes up for the fact that it's in a small arena. So here, J-Hook style is you go over these hills right here, and you gotta go nice and slow not to send you off the side. You see I got a huge nosedive right there. Then you make the turn right here, got close to the dumpsters. Here you go, line up for these hills. And then the last one right there, and done. J-hook style on a smaller fitting track. So there you go. And nice track too with that container stack I made for that track. So after that, it's off to Cincinnati as I made a whole brand new style of racing for this track, as this is called Cincinnati Style. As, oh boy, it's one of the first of many new styles of track racing that were made for this track, this series, and it is awesome, but it's also pretty challenging. So now to show you how it's done. So for Cincinnati Style Racing, you start with the rear tires on the start line. You go over this jammer, and the other truck goes the opposite direction, of course. Then it becomes Chicago for a little bit as you line for this hill right here. But after the jump, you have to take a sharp turn and then line up right for the jammer right here. Yep, line up for the jammer, go up and over it, and then you gotta go right for that little roll you start off with your first hit, and there you go. Very tough track, but the results have been awesome. And that is Cincinnati Style Racing. That's going to be debuting in Cincinnati on October 21st. So get hyped for that. So then after that, we wrap up October with Julian, North Carolina, where we make our debut there, as we're going to do Chicago Style Racing on a speedway track the same way that was done in Custom West Lebanon 2022 that Sim Monsters and the owner of Versus had a meltdown over. So, for all of you who don't remember, how was that done again? Well, very simple. You start off the hills right here, then you have to slow down, come up for these two hills, and then you just drift over to the other lane, and there you go. Simple Chicago Style Racing. But oh, God forbid Sim Monsters and the owner of Versus Monster Truck sees this, as they were mauling very hard over such a minor track. And a point that TJ actually used my racing style for one of his tracks, even though they all thought it sucked. Very curious about that, along with that nice save too, as that is the track for Julian, along with so many huge obstacles out there for a speedway track. It is going to be insane when we get to that event on October 30th. So then we go into November as we head off to Houston for our first time there in almost 4 years, as we're going to be doing Bob Style, the first time ever in MTWS. Now, of course, you might remember Bob Style. Adam made this for his RSPS Season 5 Orlando track. And, of course, I used it for my custom Las Vegas 2022 track. So, this honestly was a little bit easier done than Vegas, since I had the lines and was able to just plop them back on. So, how is it done here? So, if you don't know how Vegas Bob Style's done, you start off with like a little bit of an angle, go over this hill, and then afterwards it mostly becomes like St. Louis. See, take the turn right here, go down the straightaway, and then you gotta make a turn right here, but you gotta make the wider turn over here, slide up right there, and there you go. That is how Bob Style Racing is done, as I flipped at the end. Can't wait to see that debut in MTWS on November 6th. Then after that, it is off to Foxborough, as we got a big track out here for Jersey Style Racing once again. And how about that? All 6 Patriots Super Bowls represent with the triple 2 van stacks down there. We brought back the container stack I made in Foxborough in 2021. And how about that for big upgrade for the racing lanes? We're using step-ups, as the trucks are getting some massive height off of them too. And by the way, look over there in the top left corner, you'll see a green tank right there used as an obstacle. Again, what does that do? Well, you'll have to find out when the event happens, because it is insane what I'm going to be doing with such a small little tanker. So of course, as you already saw how Jersey Style Racing's done earlier in East Rutherford, showing off again as I'm going to show every other track. As you see, you go right for a step up, and you're going to get some massive distance and height off of it. It's usually the second time around where you get the more height. And then slide around right here. You're going to go for this one little hill instead of 2 like in East Rutherford. Watch out for tanker. Then make a turn right here. And then line it up. Right back for the step up to wrap up racing right there. Oh boy, I cannot wait to go back to Foxborough on November 13th as our first event there on ROR last year. That is going to be insane. And then after that, it's off to Honolulu for our debut there, as we're doing Vegas Style Racing, of course, too. As this track, pretty big, a lot of Pokemon references too, because it's going to be right after Scarlet and Violet comes out, including the backflip semi-trailer from World Finals 13 you see right there with the colors of Scarlet Violet. Also having BB&D on the trailer itself. Also, fuck any of you if you get the new games until the National Dex is back on and the EXP share is back on. I'm not forced EXP share. Fuck you. And the fountain also has the colors of Sun and Moon, since Alola's based in Hawaii. And to show off the best games in Series 2, black and white with the bus stack down there too. So now, how to show you all how the track's going to be done. good old Vegas style racing, which has a lot more room than Orlando did. As go down to the turns right here, and then over to Racing Lane, which is a little bit trickier because it's a lot smaller. And there you go. There's BB&D right there on the trailer, like I said. Cannot wait to make our debut in Honolulu. That's going to be insane. And then, next up after that, St. Louis for our Thanksgiving event. As we went all out for this one, as we're bringing back, for only the third time ever in MTWS, Tokyo Style Racing. What an awesome event, and a big stadium too, to do Tokyo Style Racing on. And yes, if you see over there in the right side corner, yes, the top left corner, that is a boxcar. We're having a train as an obstacle. Well, not an actual train, I'm rolling stock, but still, first time ever doing that in MTWS. Probably first time monster trucks have done anything sort of general. Now that's going to be awesome. Now I'm sure you're wondering, what the heck is Tokyo Style? Well, it's actually the very first racing style I ever made. My debut in MTWS back in Tokyo of 2012. So coming up 10 years later, here is how it's done, for all of you that never knew. So it starts off a little bit like U-turn as you go down the straightaway, but there's two turns right here. The first time around, you have to go for the shorter turn, as you see right here. Then you gotta crawl over a roller. Then you gotta cross over for another roller right here to go back in the original lane. Then you turn around right here, and then you drift and go right for the stack right here, right back for the other hill right there to cross back over the original lane as I hit the side of step up. Then is when you go up the deep turn right here to line up right for the center tabletop, go up and over it, and then you're done. When I debuted this track 10 years ago, it was very popular, and I hope you're all ready to see it for the first time ever on ROR. That's going to be insane when we head to St. Louis for Thanksgiving on November 24th. Tune in for that exciting event. And then after that, we're off to Toronto on November 27th, as we got a big track set up right here, as for the first time in a long time, we're going to be doing Vegas style racing into U-turn. This was actually a common track that we did in Toronto back in the very first events in 2010-11, and we're bringing it back right here. So cannot wait to do that. So for anyone who hasn't seen it before, it starts off right here like Vegas style, but then you go down here and it straight up becomes U-turn afterwards. Just go line up right for the hill right here as I took a bad turn, as you see right there. Go right for the racing lane, and there you go. That is it. Simple old U-turn with a little bit of variation to it. As that wraps up the November events, but we're still got December to go, so here we continue on. So then we begin December in Bromby-Fester for the very first ever H-Style Racing. Thanks to Longneck for thinking of such. As you see, we also brought back the corkscrew wall from 2021 Denver. Oh boy, how about that, make our debut in Denmark with corkscrews off of that. That's going to be insane. Now, for all of you wondering, how is H-Style Racing done since animated? So you start off on each opposite ends, and then you go down here. You have to turn in between the cars right here, as I try right here. Then you got to go up a little green hill on top of the Denmark flag, and then you turn right in the middle like an H. Line up still in the cars, and then you turn right in between the cars. I clipped it right there, got on two wheels, and then go down the straightaway. But then you got another lap, so you got to do it again. The exact same thing. Turn in between the cars, as I cut way too sharp right there. Go over the green hill, make the H-shaped turn right there in the middle of the gray cars, and then line up for the cars right here. But I cut the turn way too sharp in this practice. As hit it right there, go over the finish line, and you're done. That is H-Style Racing. Hope you all enjoy that, as we can't wait to debut that on December 4th in our debut in Bromby-Fester. That is going to be insane, along with the insane track we made. And then after that, in Indianapolis, we're going back to paperclip style racing for our debut return there after almost over 8 years. As that's going to be nice, and I made a lot better track too than the original one I did for Detroit, since I got a little bit more creative with it, as I add a beautiful van and bus stack in the middle as well. So of course, here's how Indianapolis racing is going to be doing with paperclip. For some reason, at least in my experience, it feels harder than Detroit, since there seems like there'll be a lot more lag in the turns than it was in Detroit, and the trucks don't seem to handle as well. And go over the hill, and then take the turn right here to go line up right for that hill, and then you are done. As can't wait for Indianapolis when we return here on December 11th, as that's the track for that event. And And then after that, the last event before the season finale is on December 18th, as we're heading to New Orleans for the first time literally in 7 years. The last event on December 18th in New Orleans was in 2015. December 18th, 7 years later. And of course, as you can see, it's over and under again! World Finals 21 style. See? You can even fit that in even other stadiums too, to trigger people. And look at all the beautiful obstacles they made out there. And look at that. A Coast Guard boat, a lifeguard boat in the fountain. That took quite a bit of resizing to make it fit. But oh boy, that's going to be fun seeing the trucks go over that. So instead of Edmonton starting off on the ground, here in New Orleans they're going to start off on a little hill. That's the only difference from Edmonton, but it's just like there too. Go over the hill, then line up right for the crossover jump, as go up and over it over the Saints logos, land on top of that one, then go line up right for that hill right there, as I did a terrible pass off of it, and then go line up right for in between, then go line up right for the hill once again to wrap up the run, as there you go, as that is the last event before the season finales in New Orleans. Now for the last two tracks, as they'll wrap up in Baltimore on December 25th, as this is Fish Style Racing, as I'm calling it. It's an inverse of St. Louis, but I didn't think inverse St. Louis sounded really good, so I went with fish because it did kind of look like a fish at the start lines too. As made a double tanker stack for this event, and brought out a hill that's used in Anaheim 2020 to put a box fan out there. So that's going to be cool and all that. So this is how Fish Style Racing's done. So instead of starting inside St. Louis, you start outside on here. And you got to go over these hills at odd, crooked angle. But you got to go slow over them because they'll send you way too far, as I took the turn way too sharp right here. Then you go over the center jump right here, but you got to slow down because the turn's coming up. Then you got to go for it. Over the start line again. Line up right for the roller right there as I spun out a little bit. And then go line up right for the final hill. Floor into it. And there you go once you cross over the finish line. That is Fish Style Racing, which I cannot wait to debut on Christmas Day in Baltimore. And now for the last track. And that is Petco Park in San Diego for our debut there. As had to do a little bit of compromise on some of the obstacles since there's not much room out there. But oh boy, we brought out a unique obstacle from freestyle, but you'll have to wait to see it till then what it is, because we haven't done this obstacle in a long time in MTWS, but that'll be cool, as this is based upon the NATL or NAMT Anaheim Custom 2020 track, I believe it was. It's Vegas style into Anaheim style. So, another first time use in MTWS. A perfect track for a baseball-sized stadium. So you go down here, then you have to line up for this arrow here. Make sure you go in and in out. It's in and out on this one. Take the turn to come back out onto the track, and then go line up for the final turn right here. Went way too wide, so you gotta be careful, as I went way too wide. Go over the racing lane, and then you're done, as I forced the front flip right there because I hit the brakes. And there you go. That is the tracks for MTWS's 2022 season. Hope you all enjoy them, and they will be up to download after the events are done, so you'll have to wait until then to get them. But I hope you're all looking forward to the 2022 MTWS season starting on August 24th in Detroit and Salina. And right now, it's looking like Detroit will be at 3 p.m. on that day, and Salina will be at 8 p.m. So tune in on August 24th for season openers in Detroit and Salina. So now to wrap it up, here is the tracks one more time. And if you want to see them again, you can go check out my Discord, where I'll post them in my track previews. And you can also go to the MTWS Wiki, which is in the descriptions video, where I'm going to have the articles of each event with the track posts on there too for you to look at. Hope you all enjoy, and see you guys in 2 weeks for the 2022 MTWS season openers in Detroit and Salina. Oh boy, cannot wait for MTWS to come back with a bang.
There's no getting out. you wave to be wrapped around your grave. You got to fight.